and he played very well. So it's almost like when I remember Sean Payton wanting to get too smart for his own good and outthinking the room, when he wanted to move Kenny Vaccaro from being this rover type of strong safety, more in the Troy Polamalu mood, and wanted to have him stationary. You know what this guy does well. Let him do it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and you mentioned someone like Eric Kendricks, but let's not forget that Eric Kendricks is standing next to a guy named Anthony Barr, who is
exactly,
dude. If we had an Anthony Barr, I mean, let me tell you, I mean, him and Khalil Mack are, to me, probably the two best linebackers in the NFL right now. They're young, they're strong, they can do it all. They can play any position, basically, besides safety. And they probably could drop back there if they got asked. I'm not going to place Kendricks above a Stephon Anthony. Kendricks might do one thing better than Anthony that I can think of off the top of my head, and that is put pressure on the quarterback. But he's not as good of a run stopper as Anthony is. I can promise you that. And he's not playing on as stacked of a defense.
Agreed. I think the only edge he has, if he has the ability to cover just a bit better, but he also is 2 inches smaller and like maybe 20 pounds lighter. So, I mean, he's more of one of those middle linebackers that, 6'1", 235, so he's in that hybrid mode, almost like a Brian Urlacher was. Brian Urlacher was a former strong safety, moved to middle linebacker. That's more of an Aaron Kendricks type of person. Stephon Anthony is a true middle linebacker in every sense of the word. 6'3", 6'4", 250, and when he hits you, you understand you just ran into a brick wall.
Yep.
I don't understand the game plan. And the same thing for Haloi Kakaha, who was also moved from strong side linebacker to DN when he should have been a DN in the first place because that's his natural position.
You're right. All right, well, Professor's got a question. Professor, hit us with it.
Hey, Brian and Deuce, man. Oh, my goodness, man, fellas. I love the show, man. I just wanted to tell you guys how much the knowledge you guys are dropping, man, and I'm just in line with everything you guys are saying. I'm going to just share, piggyback off something Brian said with the Saints and having watched this team for 41 years now from when I was 8. But looking at this team, and I always tell college a lot of times, there is something very perplexing going on with the Saints.
Yeah.
And there's something very perplexing going on with Coach Payton in terms of the Saints are chronically placing players in the wrong positions. And I was just telling Kyle this, and when you guys started talking about with Stephon Anthony, I said, why in the world has this man only played 13 plays? And the answer is with the Saints, or what appears to me what the Saints are doing is really Deuce and Brian. And I'm going to go a little spiritual for a second, Rev. It's the spirit of Jezebel. Coach Payton is too controlling. He's controlling Mickey Loomis. He's controlling the unit coaches. He's kept Bill Johnson and Joe Vitt around here. Everybody else, the players have been juggled, everything except for those two coaches. And what you have here is a spirit of control. It's his way or the highway. And unfortunately, in him having this type of span of control, it has now led to the detriment and destruction of this team. And if someone does not reel him in with this spirit and the spirit of control that he has, it is going to doom very detrimental to the Saints, and they may never get, because the Saints now, they look just like the team of the late 70s when Archie Manning had all of those weapons and no defense. Scored 35, 34 points. I text Kyle when I was watching the game. I said, this game reminds me from 1980 when the Saints lost to the Falcons in the Superdome, 40-34 in overtime, when the ball went over Russell Erxlaven's head. And what you have here right now is that I personally feel that Coach Payton has taken the Saints as far as he can. I did not, I openly said, and I said it before, I did not want the Saints to renew his contract. He did what we needed to do. We thank God for the Super Bowl, and we appreciate everything he did. But this man right now does not have this team going in the right direction in some ways. The offense is always great. Why would you, knowing that the offense is your strength, why would you not have the patience to work with the people you've drafted or make sure that you focus in that area? He's not a defensive-minded coach. He is really an offensive coordinator juggernaut in that area. And until he allows Dennis Allen, Rob Ryan, Steve Spagnuolo, Greg Williams, Gary Gibbs, and all of these people, you cannot keep blaming it on the players. Maybe there's something wrong with what you're doing and your coaches. Because this is, like Brian said, this is, to me, this is mind-boggling with the Saints. How you keep losing games over and over. You find ways to lose games, and you've lost now about 35 games in the last 6 years by a touchdown or less. It's mind-boggling, Brian and Deuce.
Let me interject for a second, Professor, because I want to get your thoughts on this. At one point in time, the Saints had what we all fans and media love to call dome field advantage. In the last 14 home games, the Saints have only won 5. 5 out of their last 14.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
For a team that was known for winning at home, as well as, let me piggyback off of something you said a moment ago when it comes to Sean Payton and the defensive coordinators and stuff like that. Realize something. The NFL just may have caught on to Sean Payton because Sunday's game was called by Pete Carmichael, as well as the last time the Saints had a dynamic offense. We're talking way back in 2011. It was Pete Carmichael that called the plays that season. For some strange reason, Sean Payton has fallen in love with maybe 6 or 7 plays, and he runs the entire game. Pete Carmichael was able to mix it up and give him a new bag. Now, I know some people believe Pete Carmichael's going to be a head coach. He's not. He's not ready for it, and if you listen to Pete Carmichael speak, you'll understand exactly what I mean. But the idea that maybe Sean Payton has just stayed around a little too long has some validity. Now, I don't want anybody to discredit you when you say that.
Yeah.
Hey,
well,
Deuce.
I mean, I think Brian will remember, but when I was hosting Dat Confessional the last time before work got in the way, I said that I don't think Sean Payton should make it past the 2016 season. I think that should have been his last season, which would have been now. There's a reason that coaches in the NFL don't make it 10 years or more. Very few do. You can name them in the NFL now on one hand. It's just extremely uncommon. It doesn't happen, and that doesn't happen for a reason. And I think Sean Payton's reason is this. Nobody has put him in check. Mickey Loomis hasn't put him in check. We've got an owner who is close to his deathbed, if not on it, has not put him in check. Nobody has. They've let Sean Payton get whatever he wants, and it's gone to his head because he's always been that type, that borderline narcissist. And I struggle with pride myself. That's one of the things I deal with. But, I mean, on him, when you've been in a place for 10 years and you've gotten what you want, there's no checks and balances left. I mean, Rob Ryan, whether you love him or hate him, and I believe him when he said this, he was not able to run the defense that he wanted to run. And you can still say it wouldn't have been good if he had or hadn't, but that is not the point. The point is Sean Payton controls everything, even the areas that he isn't good at. And then Kyle's got something he wants to add. So go ahead, Kyle.
Hey, Brian, how you doing? And Professor,
well, my brother, how are you?
Good. Guys, everything you guys are saying tonight, Professor and I said earlier today, is confirmation. And Deuce, the last thing you just said is when we were talking about his ego, and I told Professor this. I said the reason why he came back to the Saints, and people don't, and I know they're diehard Who Dats out there and Saints fans said we needed him, we love him. That's great. But nobody was going to give him the control that he sought and need out there on the marketplace. That's why he returned to New Orleans, guys. Remember, he kept the Saints at bay because he was seeking a better deal or better situation elsewhere. Okay? Yeah. We are his second, third, fourth choice right now. Okay? And who talk about loyalty need to think about that. That's a disloyal way of handling it. I know you have to do what's best for you as a person, but that's not a sign of loyalty, in my opinion. Okay?
Yeah, I agree.
So, go ahead.
My apologies. I want to get your thoughts on this because you brought up the point just now, and I just have to get in on it. It's not the first time Sean Payton has done that.
Exactly.
This is now his second time. The very first time Sean Payton was hired by the Saints, he actually openly admitted he wanted the Green Bay job. So it's not just the first time he's done it. It's actually the second time that he's kind of kept the Saints in waiting as he made a decision, and all of a sudden now, okay, Green Bay went to Mike McCarthy, I want to go to New Orleans. Let's never forget that. That was a great point you brought up.
But, Brian, remember, he went to Oakland as well.
Yeah.
Indeed. Indeed.
So he wanted Oakland. He wanted Green Bay.
It was actually Bill Parcells that told him not to go to Oakland.
Mm-hmm.
Right. But he wasn't ready. And Professor says this all the time about Coach being a very good offensive coordinator. But Professor, you find this?
Generally, to berate that point, you did. You kept saying that over and over. And something that Brian said that really hit me. That's why I sent Kyle Texas say, Kyle, tell Deuce and Brian I want to talk with them, because I'm just so honored. I'm so just thankful to hear Deuce and Brian, because a lot of times I'm wondering, am I crazy? Because I do a lot of venting to Kyle.
You are a little crazy. Yes, you are.
And when I'm talking to Saints fans, they're wanting to stone me, like, you don't like the Saints and you're pessimistic. I'm like, wait a minute, I can only tell you what I see. So to hear Deuce and Brian, confirms that I'm not the only one that see this stuff.
Let me put it like this to you, Professor. And this is not me hating on the Who Dat Nation fan base. I'm part of it. I love it. I mean, the culture of Who Dat Nation, go to New Orleans on a game day, some of the most fun you'll ever have in your life. Yeah. But these are the same fans who are so adamantly defending Tom Benson and his right to run the team and everything. This is the same man who, after Hurricane Katrina, the worst event to ever happen to Louisiana, wanted to move the team.
Yep.
That man didn't just change his tune in 4 or 5 years. And I believe that man has the right to do that. But Who Dat Nation has a really short memory span. And in some ways, we've gotten so loyal to just the branding of Who Dat Nation, to just the symbol of the New Orleans Saints, that we've let our common sense just go out the window.
Well,
I mean, we're blindly following guys like Sean Payton, and I believe Sean Payton's extremely talented. Sunday proved that, but it gets to a point where you're starting to override into things that you can't control and you don't know what you're doing. You need to step back. And he's not going to step back in New Orleans because he has the reins. There's no checks and balances, like I was saying. So I don't see that improvement coming.
It won't ever come because Tom Benson is elderly. Mrs. Benson, she knows nothing about running a football team. Mickey Loomis knows nothing about running. Mickey Loomis.
But see, that's why, and Brian
it's a problem.
That's why I get so mad at Mickey Loomis. He has to be that checks and balances guy, and he hasn't been.
He's
let
spread
him get
too
away
thin
with whatever he wanted.
But right now, he's spread too thin. He's trying to run 2 different organizations, the Pelicans as well as the Saints, and it's really a major issue for this team. What's going to happen to the team going forward is more of a concern of mine in the long term. And I love my Saints, but I also see there's some fundamental flaws in this administration.
Professor, answer. I'll talk to him.
That's his business phone. But that's all I have to say, guys. Beautiful show. Thank you so much, guys. Hey, turn it back over to you.
Yeah, we've only got a couple minutes. It's almost 9 o'clock. We've been talking about Saints football for 2 hours. Not that I'm complaining, but 100% in agreement. But that's why I have such an issue with Mickey Loomis, because as much credit as I do give him for how he handled the Drew Brees situation, he totally did that as a win for the Saints. In the reverse, how do you let Sean Payton go, as Brian just put it and Kyle put it and Professor put it? Sean Payton just walked all over New Orleans when it came to picking the team that he wants to coach for. So that's why I have my problems with Mickey Loomis. Yes, he is brilliant when it comes to moving money around and sign a player, but man, when it comes to actually being the GM and telling the coach no, he can't do it.
I mean, that's essentially what it falls down to. Tom Benson is 137 years old. I mean, I haven't seen his birth certificate, but I'm pretty sure he's 137. And as you alluded to, Miss Gail, as beautiful of a person as she is, she doesn't know what's going on with the football operation. So that's because, and Tom Benson has a structure in place of which Dennis Schlosser, the president, he runs the day-to-day. Mickey Loomis is his right-hand man. And the way the structure is set up, it's going to be that way should Mr. Benson ever see his expiration. And unfortunately, that means the next 5 years, Sean Payton will rule with an iron fist, because that's the way it is right now. And it saddens me because there's no one who, I swear to you, if I could get my media credentials back, I may lose them the same day.